Hello and welcome to another edition of the European Soccer Show. Another incredible weekend of action from the top 5 European leagues. With me today, as ever, is the indomitable Léo Aschi. How are you, Leo?
Hey Daniel, I'm fine. Thanks. Really good weekend of football. Lyon is atop of the La Ligue table, so everything
Well,
is
it's
good.
just an incredible weekend in French football, regardless. There are
Yeah,
astonishing scorelines, but we'll get into that later.
of
So,
course.
little teaser for anybody who's watching this. Little teaser. Lots of goals in the Premier League. A stupid amount of goals in the French League, Ligue 1. La Liga, some surprising results. Serie A, possibly the most Italian set of results I've ever seen. Lots of 1-0s. And the Bundesliga, also a couple of surprises. We should have Pedro joining us a bit later for La Liga and try to delve into that. And also, before we sign off, I think after we go through all the weekend's results, it'd be nice to sort of have a quick look at the remaining transfers and the last things
Yeah.
to expect on transfer deadline day. I, for one, have a big one. Not like that, because of course I'm a Newcastle fan, and one of the big ones is departing Newcastle. But let's see which one we will start with today. So let's spin the pickle wheel, because that's how we do it. It's very scientific. So let's spin this little wheel that I have on my computer. Oh, would you believe it? It's the Premier League. Oh, would you? Oh, that's very nice.
Okay.
Okay, so
Let's start with the most deceiving championship of all time.
okay, so the way we're going to do this, as well as just sort of going through the results, probably start with things like possibly we're going to talk about the match of the weekend, the performance of the
Yeah.
weekend, as you will see in our written articles that come out every single week. Because the big match of the weekend, undoubtedly, was Liverpool versus Arsenal, and yet you have bigger performances or better results for, say, Brighton defeating Manchester City 2-1. You had a couple of 3-2s, Everton defeating Wolves, Man United defeated Burnley, lots of things like that. But let's start with the big game. Liverpool 1, Arsenal 0. A lot of pressure on Mikel Arteta at the start of this season, as we discussed last week, obviously spending £1 billion, I think it is, rather than euros, £1 billion since he last won a major competition. And a lot is expected of Arsenal. But sort of Arsenal came to Anfield with playing quite defensively, quite compactly, making it very difficult. And it took a wonder strike towards the end, Szoboszlai from 30 yards. Did you see this winning goal?
Yeah, I watched the game because I want to see the opposition between two of the main contenders for the title, and yeah, that's why I said I've been a little bit deceived by this game because it was really a close game between two teams we that feared to lose this one, even if it's just the third match day of Premier League. And it took Soboslai to strike a wonderful free kick because it was really wonderful. It reminded me a little about Cristiano Ronaldo's technique on free kick, to break the deadlock. But apart from that, it was quite, I would say, maybe messy because there was a lot of fouls, a lot of technical errors, unusual for these teams. Yeah, it was not really the most entertaining game of the
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah,
What
I'm
did you
sure it
think
would
about
be
it?
quite. I'm sure it'd be quite tactically fascinating if you're that
Yeah,
way inclined, but also from an entertainment point, it wasn't the best game.
yeah,
But having said that, it took a moment of pure quality to break the deadlock, and that was the difference. Not much more to say apart from the fact that Liverpool are the only team in the Premier League with 3 wins from 100% record, and they sit top of the Premier League. 2 points ahead of second place, Chelsea. Now, Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. On paper, this looks quite an unremarkable result. However, huge VAR controversy, as there so often is. Did you see what I'm referring to, Leo? So for those who
Can
didn't
you remind
see,
me, please? I saw a big part of the game, but I totally forgot it.
Fulham actually
Now.
opened the scoring. I think it was the 30-something minute, where the ball was played through to, I think it was Rodrigo Muniz up front, and
Oh, okay.
he used his body to turn away from Chalobah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then that released Josh King, the youngster. I think he's a teenager still,
yeah.
and he ran the entire Chelsea
Superb goal.
half and scored a great goal, brilliant
Yeah,
goal. And then VAR got involved and said Rodrigo Muniz had fouled Chalobah in getting control of the ball.
yeah.
But of course, then on Match of the Day, and then since like so many other experts and pundits have been talking about like what a disgusting, disgraceful choice this was from VAR to not only get involved, but then for the referee not to realise, not to have the wherewithal to say, "Oh wait, no, that's absolutely fine," because the big point is he said it's a careless challenge from Muniz, but it isn't a challenge, is it? Rodrigo Muniz
No.
has control of the ball, and he just
Yeah,
turns, and in doing
yeah,
so, steps on Chalobah's foot. That's not a
yeah,
foul because it's just not a challenge. It's not a thing. And again, that went from Fulham opening the scoring at Stamford Bridge, and then that went into then Chelsea taking the lead in the last minute of stoppage time in the first half. It completely changed the game, didn't it?
yeah. I think I have the same thoughts about these pretended fouls, because for me it's not a foul. The player has to put his foot somewhere on the pitch. He will not just levitate on it. So yeah, it's who was the player, the Chelsea players challenged? It was
Chalobah.
Chalobah. Yeah, Chalobah comes from behind
Mm.
Muniz. So Muniz was in his gesture. His gesture was just natural, so he had to put his foot somewhere, and then unfortunately on Chalobah's one. But then the action were really interesting for Josh. And who was it? Benoit Badiachil, the defender, with just before he scored the goal, because I remember.
Oh yes.
Um, Oh, Adarabioyo, no?
I'm
Maybe.
afraid I don't know actually.
Okay, I think it was Adarabioyo. Yeah, it was a wonderful strike with his shot being just for Sanchez impossible to catch. It was really great, but I don't know why the VAR error came at this moment.
Yeah. But it's also apart from the fact he's a teenager, that would have been his first, I think, first goal for Fulham, but certainly the
Yeah,
first Premier League goal for him, and
yeah.
that's a
And
huge moment
he's
taken
just
away for
yeah,
nothing.
just
Anyway, but
18 years old.
Silva, as you can imagine, was apoplectic by the end of the match because um, sort of, let's say, minor irritations. João Pedro scored in the 9th minute of stoppage time when
Yeah.
only 8 had been signalled, so he'd been annoyed. And then the second half, when Chelsea scored their second goal, there was a little push when the ball was bouncing in the Fulham penalty area. There's a little push from João Pedro on the back of the defender, who then, so obviously he's gone for a header and he nudges him out of the way. And then also there's potential foul for someone standing on Traore's foot. And then Chelsea are awarded a penalty because Sessegnon has his arm in a natural position. Now that's not the problem here. That's not the controversy, because of course
Yeah.
had it just been handball, no, it's by the letter of the law, absolutely. But the problem is it's like a second before Traore had his foot stepped on, not unlike VAR overruling Fulham's disallowed goal, but also then a second before someone stepping on Traore's foot, someone had like I say, João Pedro had done a little nudge. So on Match of the Day, again, it was really good. It was really interesting to see the pundits breaking it down, because they all agree that, well, here's the thing. I don't think that should be a foul. I don't think that should be a foul. And that is a handball. So really, all of those are correct. So you've got to wonder, what on earth made them think the first one for the Fulham goal? Because it's very... Oh, yeah. Anyway, so you can imagine Marcus Silva absolutely lost his mind. And understandably.
And rightly.
And VAR has some controversy in some other matches. I'm going to quickly move into Manchester United 3, Burnley 2. Manchester United getting the first win of the season. Obviously, since we last recorded, they also played in the League Cup and lost to League 2 Grimsby Town on penalties. They were losing 2-0 and deservedly so. Grimsby Town were excellent. But yeah, eventually lost on penalties. So Manchester United, and particularly Ruben Amorim, really needed this victory, didn't they?
Yeah, and Brian Bemo needed it too because he was the player missing out the last penalty against Grimsby, I think. So yeah, he scored his first Premier League goal with Manchester United against Burnley. It was deserved, to be honest, for him because I really like this player. His activity is really interesting in the game, and it's good for him to finally put a foot on in the door of Manchester United. But once again, it was Manchester United are
Fortunate.
just fortunate to win this one. I don't know if you saw the images of Ruben Amorim just seconds before Fernandez penalty at the last second, and it was like, okay, what can I do more? Because yeah, it's dramatic that that club is that bad, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very confusing, isn't it? And obviously, so much is spoken about Manchester United, so we're not going to obviously linger on it too long. But first of all, they still have goalkeeping issues, despite the fact they
Yeah,
spent so much money on Onana. And there have been mistakes from both Onana and Bindia in every single match so far. But also in the penalty shootout, something interesting was highlighted was in the penalty shootout against Grimsby Town, Sheshko was the 10th penalty taker. So
yeah,
considering like you've got this, what is it, 70 odd million pound striker, 70 odd million euros, whatever it is. And he elects to go 10th in a
yeah.
in a penalty shootout.
It's
It's quite
quite
surprising. I
strange.
think Mateus Cunha also missed one of his penalties, didn't he?
Yeah,
But yes, but also we should say, so Manchester United were brilliant in the first half, actually. They should probably have put the game to bed. They only had a 1-0 lead into half-time. The Burnley equalised. The Manchester United got a lead again. Burnley equalised again. And then it took a last-minute penalty, which, again, VAR got involved with. Did you think it was a penalty? Because to describe the action for people who didn't see it, I forget which Burnley player it was, but Jaden Anthony, I think it was. He grabbed the shirt of Amad Diallo as he entered the box. So the shirt pull started outside the box, but the referee ruled that it was sustained shirt pulling as he entered the box. So did you see that? Did you?
no, I didn't. I was on the Ligue game at that moment. But
We'll get into
yeah,
that shortly. Very good reason.
but I
But
saw
yes,
the highlights.
so probably a penalty, but again, very, very fortunate. And yeah, Bruno Fernandes dispatched it. Sunderland 2, Brentford 1. Another victory for Sunderland at home. That's 2 from 2. Spurs, this is I think a bit of a surprise. Tottenham Hotspur 0, Bournemouth 1. Spurs have had a terrific start to the season, obviously drawing 2-2 with PSG in the Super Cup before losing at penalties. And beating Burnley at home and then beating Manchester City last time out at Manchester City. And yet they lost to a brilliant Bournemouth. Bournemouth were fantastic in this game. Do you think that despite Spurs' good start, and clearly Thomas Frank is doing a good job already, do you think there's anything missing at Spurs? Because, of course, they've just announced the signing of Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig, which could, because, of course, they have 2 number 10s in Kulusevski and Madison, but they're both injured. And Madison will be injured for most of the season. So do you think Xavi Simons, have you watched much of Xavi Simons? And do you think he's the sort of player that can unlock an attack?
I think he's a really great player. We saw him at RB Leipzig. He was kind of the he was not a 10 role, but he was not holding a 10 role, but he was really decisive with Leipzig. He has that style. He's that style of player, really at ease with the ball on his feet. Really interesting from the left to the center of the attack. I think it's a great addition for Tottenham. he had difficulties at PSG before joining Leipzig. Of course, he was not considered as a potential starter to be to recall, but then he went to Bundesliga as a lot of Ligue 1 player to imitate a lot of Ligue 1 players, and then he exploded there. So I think it's a new step in his career because going from Leipzig to Tottenham, I think it's a step up. So he will need to adapt to the Premier League, which can be difficult for a player, even a young player. So, but I think it's a great addition for Tottenham and Thomas Franke.
Yeah, completely agree. Wolves 2, Everton 3. A quick word on Everton's attack. Of course, they've loaned Jack Grealish in, but they're very exciting to watch because suddenly last season Everton basically relied on Ndiaye, who's clearly a very talented forward, but now he has Jack Grealish with him and Dewsbury Hall sort of supporting from midfield, and those three in particular, obviously Beto leading the attack, but those three behind him, they were. I don't know if you saw the highlights for this, but some of the interchanging of passes was fantastic. It was so entertaining.
Yeah, and I'm really happy. Personally, I'm really happy for Jack Grealish because more than the footballer, I really love the man behind it. And yeah, he seems to have resurrected at Everton. He's what 4 assists in 3 games, I think, or 3 in 3 games.
In 4
Yeah,
and
in
2.
2. Yeah, in 2. Yeah, you're right. And he's already a star at Everton, and I think this is the kind of player who can be brilliant, the top star of a medium plus Premier League club, but maybe not like Liverpool, Manchester City, or Manchester United, but a mid plus club like he was at Aston Villa at his time. He can be the top star. I don't know if you
Potentially,
agree with
I
that,
suppose, but my argument would be it may not be because clearly there's a reason why Manchester City bought him for such a high fee. Like he was £100 million
yeah,
signing. But I would argue, I suppose one of the reasons why he looks so good in those mid-table sides is because they're not facing defenses that are just sitting deep the entire time, like Manchester City had, right? So perhaps it just suits a team that work in transition more. So hypothetically, would he fit? I don't know. It's not that this would happen, but say like Newcastle United, they don't often. Quite a big part of their game is pressing, but also they work on the counter attack and they work that kind of way around, as opposed to pinning a team back like Manchester City or Arsenal. So perhaps in a team like that, or ironically, maybe if he went back to Aston Villa, who would really do with that sort of player now. Do you see what I mean? So it's probably he's clearly an elite player. It's just perhaps.
Oh yeah, he's
maybe
an
not.
elite player. Yeah, I don't remember if it's on the second goal of Everton. It's not an assist, but just the passing before, just a little pass to, I don't remember who, but it was
Dewsbury Hall, I think.
Yeah, Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah.
That's an elite gesture. The vision, the way of doing it, because you can see the action, but doing the pass is something else. Yeah, it was really true exceptional.
But it's really really fun seeing Everton attack at the minute. The last game Saturday was a dead one. Leeds United 0, Newcastle United 0, and Newcastle United screaming for a striker, but they've just announced the signing of Voltemade from Stuttgart. For £69 million, I think, which is again huge fee for someone relatively untested, but a unique player. 6'6", incredibly technical, very good at sort of dropping deep and passing, linking play. Very unusual a set of attributes. Sunday, like I said, Brighton 2, Manchester City 1. This was a great game. I don't know if you saw this, but Manchester City were winning until I think it was about the 60-something minutes. I've forgotten what. But the manager, is it Hertzler, manager of Brighton?
Fabian Urzuela.
made a quadruple change, 4 changes, and completely changed the game. Brighton took control. James Milner scored the equalising penalty, and a couple of lovely things about that. James Milner, in doing so, has become the second oldest goal scorer in the Premier League. But he's also the second youngest in that he's scored in the Premier League.
So
thing. Also, his longevity.
It was his longevity. Yeah.
Incredible career. But also a lovely moment because after the death of Diogo Jota, he asked for his number to be changed to number 20 because Diogo Jota was his friend at Liverpool. But also after he scored, which is his first goal in 6 years, he had the presence of mind to then do Diogo Jota's goal celebration, which is the PlayStation sitting down, which is lovely. But anyway, Brighton took control, and actually Gruder scored in the last minute of regulation time. Incredible turnaround from Brighton. Did you see the highlights, and what did you think made the difference?
Yeah, I saw the highlights. First, I want to point out that Erling Haaland keeps scoring again and again. I just saw his SofaScore page after his goal, and I saw that I think it was just the last game he didn't score in the last 10 games. So yeah, we can talk about how he's linked with his teammates and everything, but he's such a serial killer in the box. Really, really, really. And his gesture of the goal was also quite good because he read the game, just moved to, because he knew that the ball could arrive to him, and just chip it to score. As you said, James Milner scored. He's now the second oldest player to do so in the Premier League. And I want to have a word on Brian Gruda's second goal, because
excellent goal.
Excellent goal, but terrible defending from Manchester City. Yeah, when you see the goal, you can see that there are 2 Brighton players, including Gruda, on the right side, or middle right side, and just for one Manchester City defender, it's impossible to play like that. You can play high on the pitch, but you have to just be how can I say that, be alert about that possibilities of attack. And yeah, it was terrible, the defending.
But also having the presence of mind, because Gruder, excellent strength to hold off the defender, but as he enters the penalty area, to have the composure to dummy the shot, and not only commit the goalkeeper, but then the covering defender sits him down, so that he actually goes. So not only is he around the goalkeeper, he rounds the defender as well. It's very, very good finish. Possibly one of the most surprising results of the weekend, and we'll make this. We'll just end it here quickly because we've had 20 minutes in the Premier League. We should move on. Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham United 3. West Ham United have had a miserable start to the season. They had a miserable end to last season. A lot of doom and gloom. As we said, it was 0-0 up until the 84th minute. And yet somehow West Ham scored 3 late goals. One was an excellent finish from Jared Bowen on the edge of the box. One was a penalty. An unusual celebration from Lucas Paquetá, who, for those who didn't see it, he had this sort of, because there was talk about him moving to Aston Villa before and so he gets the sort of the old-fashioned. I mean, the flip phone, and answering the call, and then he puts the phone down, and then kisses the badge, which was quite unusual because there were reports that he was one of the people asking to leave earlier in the transfer window. So,
and just imagine if he leaves today.
It'd be very, very funny. And the third goal was Callum Wilson, his first goal for West Ham United. And the last result to look at: Aston Villa 0, Crystal Palace 3. Crystal Palace, Oliver Glasner, the work he's done at Crystal Palace has been incredible.
Exceptional.
And they've lost Eze, and they've still looked incredible. They might be losing Gahey to Liverpool. I think that's more of a question of if they can bring someone in. He's into the last year of his contract as well. But Aston Villa just seem to have run out of steam. Not that Unai Emery is lost the investment or anything. He's done an incredible job at Aston Villa. but the PSR situation where they keep having to sell players. And I think I saw that from his time at Aston Villa, they've only spent net-wise, they've only spent about 30 or 40 million pounds over 2 or 3 years. So yeah, it seems strange that they can't seem to, I don't know, have had better financial position. Although having said that, they also have a ridiculously high wage to income ratio. Right, that brings us to in the Premier League. Just as Pedro Pimentel arrives. Hi, Pedro. So a quick look at the Premier League. Yes, Liverpool are top, Chelsea are second, and then you got a row of teams on 6 points: Arsenal, Spurs, Everton, Sunderland, Bournemouth. Some very exciting teams. And down at the bottom, Wolves are the only team with 0 points. Aston Villa only 1 point, and Newcastle and Fulham only with 2. That brings us to the end of the Premier League. Hi, Pedro. Yeah. How have you been?
Hello, good morning.
Hi, Pedro.
Pretty cool. It's good to get back to the show and see you guys.
Lovely to have you. We're gonna we spin a wheel to tell us which league we're going to talk about. So we've just done the Premier League. We started a little late, so you're joining very much in there. And it's going to be La Liga. No, it's Ligue 1. So Ligue 1, Leo. And I'll tell you what. After this, we'll go to La Liga anyway. We'll ignore the wheel. We'll have Ligue 1 and then La Liga. So Ligue 1. For those of you who didn't see the results, there were 3 matches on Saturday and 5 matches on Sunday. And yet, despite only having 3 matches on Saturday, there were more goals than Sunday. And 18 goals in 3 matches. Can you take us through some of these, Leo? So first, let's start with defending champions. Toulouse 3, Paris Saint-Germain 6.
Yeah, I think you have seen images on socials or I don't know what, but have you ever seen a player scored 2 overhead kick in 7 minutes in one game? Because João Neves just did it, and he even scored a hat trick. And to be honest, one of the greatest hat trick in the history of Ligue 1, just like that. PSG were 4-0 up after 31 minutes, I think, with João Neves scored a brace, Bradley Barcola another goal, and Ousmane Dembélé a penalty after he had missed last week. So yeah, it was just a strength show for the reigning champions. Then Toulouse scored 1 before the halftime by Charlie Cresswell, who has been linked this summer with some Premier League outfits. And then Paris scored another by Ousmane Dembélé on a new penalty. João Neves, a screamer for his hat to complete his hat trick. And at the end of the game, Toulouse scored twice, but it wasn't sufficient, of course. And we had a 9-goal thriller to end this Saturday after having, because we can tease it, a 8-goal thriller against between Lorient and Lille.
I was going to say, for the score being Lorient 1, Lille 7. What happened there? How did Lille score 7 goals?
I don't really know, to be honest. Lille were pretty scary. They recruited a lot this summer, but they recruited cleverly with Olivier Giroud coming free from LAFC, Hamza Igamane from Rangers for 12 million euros, and quite some good plays on the attack. They also kept Benjamin André, which is the captain and wanted by Paris FC, the new rich in Ligue 1. And yeah, they just killed Lorient, who won 4-0 against Rennes last week. So it was a firework of goals, great goals. Igamane, for his first appearance, scored a brace only 24 hours after having been recruited. So yeah, it was just a dominant game for Lille.
But also, I mean, that, of course, that two astonishing results. We're going to skip to Sunday because, again, some incredible results we should go over. But let's start with the last match
Yeah.
and your team. Lyon 1, Marseille 0. Now, obviously, usually Lyon-Marseille matches have quite feisty and quite.
We can say that. Yeah, we can say that today it's the biggest game in French football because there is also the PSG-OM, which is the classic, but the difference between the two teams is so important than that it's difficult to put that rivalry on the pitch, even if the fans are really hot when they see
But was
each
it?
other.
But the Lyon victory, was it deserved?
Yeah,
Was
it was a Lyon victory. Marseille went 10 men down after Seji Egenreile, former Burnley players, was sent off after a foul on Malik Fofana at the 13th minute. And then Lyon tried to push, and they finally scored at the 89th minute by Pavel Schulz, which is a new recruit. So to say that Lyon were demoted to Ligue 1 2 months ago, and today they are sitting atop of La Ligue 1 table is quite.
I thought they were second behind Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, they're second, but just with the goal. I don't think it's the goal difference. Yeah, because they are +5 and Paris 2, but maybe the goals scored because Paris scored 6. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But some other big results in Ligue 1. Quite a surprising one. Le Havre 3, Nice 1. Nice haven't had a decent start to the season, really, have
Yeah,
they?
but Nice is quite a strange team. They were eliminated from the Champions League by Benfica. Pedro can recall. And yeah, Nice are really a strange team. They got good players, but not good enough to seem to compete for the first 3 places in Liga. The other standout game of the match day was Monaco against Strasbourg.
Yeah, I was going to ask. That was a good victory.
Yeah, that's a good victory, but not really deserved for Monaco, to be honest, because Strasbourg really played a great game. So yeah, it was kind of a good result for Monaco. Magnus Akliush, who has just been called up by Didier Deschamps for the World Cup qualifiers next week, scored a goal in what could have been his last game for Monaco, because there are a lot of rumors about him, but he said that he will stay at Monaco this season. So it was another great day of football in France. And just to have a word on Paris FC, because
I was going to ask, so Paris FC, their first victory back in the top flight. Actually, have they ever been in the top flight?
They did, but 46 years ago. Yesterday they were playing. Yeah, they were playing their first home game in 46 years, and they won against Metz. Ilan Kebal is one of the most entertaining player in French football at the time. He's 27. We discovered him 5 or 6 years ago when he was playing in Reims. He was one of the great hope of French football, but he didn't fulfill all that maybe pressure, and then went to Ligue 2 and played a few games in Ligue 1 and everything. But now he's one of the standout players in Paris FC and seems to finally, and I hope for him because he's a beautiful player, it seems to have adapted to what the highest level expects from him.
Well, what a glorious weekend for Ligue 1.
Yeah.
Looking at the top of the table, Paris Saint-Germain on 9, Lyon on 9, both with 100%, and third, Lille with 7 points. 3 very exciting teams, it looks like, currently. Should we go to La Liga? Pedro, thank you for being so patient. Let's look at La Liga. So we had a couple of good results on Friday. Elche getting a good victory against Levante. Valencia having a 3-0 victory against Getafe. That was huge. But let's go to Saturday. So last week, Pedro, we were talking about teams to watch for, teams that might surprise us. And one that surprised us so far for all the wrong reasons is Atletico. So Atletico Madrid, again, a terrible start to the season. We have Alaves 1, Atletico Madrid 1. What's happening with Atletico Madrid? Why have they been so poor at the start of the season?
Atletico de Madrid is again struggling for win. Too many draws. And what concerns to the Athletic Madrid fans, it's in only three rounds, the gap to the leader is 7 points. And this will put a lot of pressure in the team, in the coach. Let's see if it is not the end of the era for Simeone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what we mentioned last week, that of course Atletico Madrid have actually spent the most money in La Liga, so it's not as if they haven't invested, and that's after last summer when they invested heavily. So that's two big investments in a row for Atletico Madrid. And so Pedro, from what you've seen, do you think it is the end of the road for Diego Simeone, who is, after all, I think he's one of the best paid coaches in world football? Despite the fact, obviously, that Atletico Madrid have only won 2 major titles in 15 years. Which is big achievement. Again, they are the 3rd club in Spain. But yeah, do you think this is the end of the road for Simeone after this starts the season?
Yeah. This is a big club in Spain. Okay, not only in the city of Madrid. The expectations are always high. This is the rival of Real Madrid in the capital. It's wild. It's wild. A derby between Real Madrid and Athletic. It's a wild. It's a hot game. It's a passionate game. It moves a lot of things. Simeone doesn't arrive to Christmas if the results keep like this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, let's talk about something more joyful than Atletico Madrid's failings. Real Oviedo 1, Real Sociedad 0. I don't know how much you know about this, Leo, but Real Oviedo, who was close to bankruptcy only a couple of seasons ago, and former players like Santi Cazorla then invested and actually moved there. And they had to legally pay him minimum wage, but he was going to play for free. And they somehow got promotion last season, and they just won their first game back. So yeah, Real Oviedo 1, Sociedad 0, with Dendoncker getting the only goal. Pedro, how much attention have you put on Real Oviedo, and how positive do you think this kind of club is for Spanish football?
Yeah. Oviedo is in Asturias, in the north of the country, so they are an autonomous region. Do you understand? So it's a regional club, but very traditional. This really was very important. It's a club who fights to keep in La Liga. It's what they are going to fight for. It was a really good win to grab the 3 points. It was important.
Yeah, terrific. Another club. Last week we were talking about one to watch out for the wrong reasons. Girona. Of course, it was only a couple of seasons ago they qualified for the Champions League. There was a long effort for the title as well. Last season they narrowly avoided relegation, but they've started so poorly this season. I believe they only got 1 point or 0. And yeah, are you concerned about Girona? Because it looks like they've completely deflated after such lofty. Sorry.
No, Girona is falling apart. I'm afraid that the team collapses because it's 1 goal scored and 10 allowed it in only 3 matches. The stats are awful. They need they need to change something quickly, because it's terrible if it stays like this. Don't wait 6 or 7 rounds. If the teams go in that direction in the next weeks, it's better to make the adjustments now, because it's too bad to be true.
Yeah. Well, also, it's one of the last matches on Saturday after Girona. Real Madrid 2, Mallorca 1. Again, sort of fairly straightforward victory for Real Madrid, but also you started to see signs of like Trent Alexander-Arnold coming into his own. There was an astonishing disallowed goal for Mbappe where Trent Alexander-Arnold played, I think it was a 65-yard pass, something crazy like that. What did you think about Real Madrid at the start of the season? Because, of course, Real Madrid have got 3 wins from 3 and yet haven't looked convincing, but they are getting the job done.
Real Madrid's not convincing me to play extraordinary soccer. Basically, what they are doing is they push the things to grab the win, and in the second half they just manage the clock. Okay. Obviously, I have nothing to say when a team wins. It's 3 games, 9 points. Okay, but what I have seen is in the second half they only manage the clock. They do only the necessary to win the game, and this is load management, in my opinion.
Makes sense. Looking at Sunday fixtures, Villarreal dropped points for the first time this season after an incredible start. 1-1 at Celta Vigo. Real Betis 1, Athletic Club 2. That was a big result for Athletic Club. Espanyol have had a great start to the season as well. Espanyol 1, Osasuna 0. But let's talk about Barcelona. They dropped points for the first time. So Real Vallecano 1, Barcelona 1. What did you think was missing in this game for Barcelona?
In my opinion, it was the game of the week. The game, it was in Vallecas. Vallecas is a neighborhood, an important citizen neighborhood in the city of Madrid. So the club is old, and they love Rayo Vallecano. Okay, the draw, it was the least result that Rayo deserved. They really played well. They played face to face. Okay, 50-50 chances for one of the teams to grab the win. I'm surprised how they played so well and so motivated. So Barcelona slipped, loses 2 points, loses the lead, but I'm happy to watch a great game. It was really fun to watch. It was that controversial penalty without VAR to review the play, so it was only the referee call. But in my opinion, it was a great game, very fun to watch.
Terrific. Well, quickly looking at the top of La Liga, as we said before, Real Madrid 9 points, Athletic Club also 9 points, an excellent start. Villarreal 7 points, Barcelona 7 points, and Espanyol 7 points. Pedro, are you shocked to see Espanyol that high? Because, of course, I think you'd expect Espanyol to be the bottom half of the table, but this has been a fantastic start to the season.
Yeah, in the first 3 rounds, you need to see the teams who played 2 games at home and 1 game away, and the opposite. And another game that I looked, it was Celta Vigo, the draw in the last minute of extra time with Villarreal, because Villarreal could also be with 3 games, 9 points. But that team in Galicia, Celta Vigo, they never give up. They never give up, trying to get at least a draw. Very interesting. And it's interesting to see that Iago Aspas, who made almost all career in Celta Vigo, never leaves the team. It's really an idol to the fans, and they get the draw in the last minute. It was also to talk about.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Okay, well, let's look at Italy's Serie A. As I said at the start of the show, this is one of the most Italian sets of results I've ever seen: 1-0, 1-1, 1-0, 0-1, 0-1, 0-0. But we're going to look at some of the other some of the games on that. But we're going to start with Friday. Friday had some great matches. Lecce 0, AC Milan 2. AC Milan recovering from that defeat at home to Cremonese last week. But Cremonese 3, Sassuolo 2. Cremonese have 6 points from 2 matches, and I think they were the favourites for relegation, or certainly among them. And they've had a great start to the season. What a refreshing thing, Leo, to have a team start so well when there's so little expectation.
Yeah, that's incredible. As for them, as for the Italian Championship, and now they will add Jamie Vardy to their squad. He has arrived in Italy yesterday, so Jamie Vardy will sign with Cremonese. So it's one of the most random transfer move in this
I
mercato.
love it.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine the S-housery? I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast. But also, Cremonese, they were leading 2-0. It was pegged back to 2-2, and De Luca scored in the 3rd minute of stoppage time with a penalty. Oh, it must have been great. Going on to Saturday's fixtures, Bologna 1, Como 0. Parma 1, Atalanta 1. Atalanta struggling under Juric, as we discussed last week. Potentially they could. Napoli, a lucky win. They still have maximum points though, but Napoli 1, Cagliari 0 with a last-minute winner from Anguissa. Napoli, they do seem like the team to beat right now. I know it's predictable. I know we said it last week, but they do seem to have that metal, that the extra bit of quality that just is kind of relentless.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, but they're the reigning champions. They won a game as reigning champions this weekend. They recruited some really, really good players. We can just start by seeing Kevin De Bruyne, for example. I think they will be the main contenders to their own title this year. So yeah, they're really, really, really strong and the team to beat.
But also an excellent start to the season. Pisa 0, Roma 1. Roma also an excellent start to the season.
Yeah.
Looking at Sunday, Genoa 0, Juventus 1. So Juventus again. Vlahovic getting the only goal despite the fact he's been demoted to second choice striker. Torino 0, Fiorentina 0. Another shock result. Internazionale 1, Udinese 2. So Inter lost at home. They were winning 1-0 before former Aston Villa striker Keenan Davis turned things around for Udinese, scoring a penalty and then assisting second. I'm not sure if either of you have seen the highlights for this, but considering Inter was so impressive when they won last week, this was a really shocking result, wasn't it? Pedro, what do you think?
I'm sorry, guys. I was just saying, listen, I didn't get to leave for respect for the team. I didn't watch Calcio. I'm really sorry. I was just trying to. I also learn with you guys, so I'm here to comment and to assist and to learn. Sorry.
No problem.
What as the Italians say, niente. Yes, so Leo. To be fair, Udinese have had a really good start to the season as well. So it's not as in like it's an awful result, but at home, again, considering last week was so impressive, this was really shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah, but as we said, Inter should have to learn a new way of working because they have a new coach with Chivu. I don't think they have really been strengthened during this mercato period. To be honest, so it's a new way of working. And just because you were talking about Juventus and Vlahovic, Luis Openda is coming to Juventus, so it will their attack is quite interesting to see. with.
I was going to say they just signed Jonathan David on a free. So
they have now Jonathan David, Vlahovic, and they will get Luis Openda. So it's not impossible, in my opinion, that Vlahovic leave today if a good offer comes.
Well, so I was going to say actually, let's put a pin in that because actually we should discuss that further in a minute. And the other result from Serie A, Lazio 4, Hellas Verona 0. So Lazio recovering after last week's result. So at the top of Serie A, you've got Napoli, Juventus, and Cremonese and Roma all on 6 points. Udinese on 4. So that's really interesting. But also, we should point out Serie A and Bundesliga are on 2 matches rather than 3 for the other leagues. But Napoli, Juventus, and Roma are on 6 points and have yet to concede. So that's also quite interesting. But let's go on to the Bundesliga because I want to bring up Openda because RB Leipzig have had a couple of major departures in Šeško and Xavi Simons. And if you're saying Luis Openda is going to Juventus, you do worry about RB Leipzig because, again, they've not had a great start to the season, although they did beat Heidenheim 2-0. So they recovered. Obviously, last week they lost 6-0 to Bayern. That's the worst way to start.
I think you have to be you have to ask yourself questions about RB Leipzig because as we said, they will not play any European competition this season. They lost great players this summer, so it will be a really tough season for them, but not maybe as tough as Leverkusen because breaking news. Erik ten Hag has been sacked by Bayer Leverkusen.
Already?
No! Yeah, just a few minutes ago.
Who had Erik ten Hag as the first managerial sacking of the season? Oh my goodness! I mean, actually, Mourinho got fired a few days ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
My God! So let's talk about that first of all. Let's talk about Werder Bremen 3, Bayer Leverkusen 3. So Leverkusen winning 2.5 time. Then in the 63rd minute, Stark or whatever, Stock. My handwriting's terrible. Apologies. Was sent off for stopping a goal for the goal opportunity in the box. So Schick converted the penalty. Werder Bremen down to 10 men, and Leverkusen winning 3-1. And then Schmidt scored for Bremen. And then in the 4th minute of added time, Koulibaly equalised. So 10 men, Werder Bremen, scored 2 goals against Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, they completely threw this match away. There's no other way to describe it. Again, yes, of course, after last week. Yeah. But do you think this is a bit of an extreme reaction because this is only 2 matches under Ten Hag?
No, I think it's the good moment to sack him if they wanted to because of the international break. So they will have time to work with their new manager. And which is funny is that it's the 3rd former Manchester United manager to be sacked within the last
Mourinho,
5 days because
Solskjaer,
yeah. So it shows a lot of. It's quite funny. So and Leverkusen will have to quickly go on because they are just
Pedro,
2 points.
Pedro, sorry, just going to jump in. Pedro, have you ever heard of a manager? The thing is, I've heard of managers getting fired fairly early for struggling teams in regards to sort of teams that are expected to be relegated or whatever. But have you ever heard of a manager being sacked this early in the season after 2 matches?
No. For example, Mourinho was sacked just because he missed the goal. The goal it was to be qualified to the Champions League. Last season once again missed. They sacked him. We don't know the goals. You need to know what has been decided by the board and the coach.
Well, I will jump in quickly and say, I think the difference being that Mourinho was in charge last season. So my point being that Ten Hag has only been in charge for 2 matches, whereas Mourinho had the whole of last season.
Yeah.
Solskjaer had the last 5-6 months of last season as well. Mm-hmm. So this is 2 matches in charge. Does that not seem a little bit trigger happy, especially considering how many players that Leverkusen have lost?
listen, if the club has money to pay the compensation for the termination of the contract, it's fine. It's a matter of money. Sometimes they don't sack the coach immediately because there's a big financial loss. I understand your point of view, but I don't have enough information to give here a proper opinion.
That's fair. I would also actually, no, I'm going to argue against myself because I've heard, not necessarily this early in the season, but also much like the transfer window, right? If an opportunity arises, say, for example, the club know of a certain manager that could be available, we'd actually rather have them anyway. So, like, had they been earlier, like 2 months ago, they would have hired them rather than Ten Hag. So perhaps it's one of those like, oh, actually, we think we can get them now. Oh, maybe just get rid of him now.
Yeah, they should have a plan.
But what a chaotic start to the season. But as we discussed last week, this kind of drop from Leverkusen and from Dortmund, although they did well this weekend, does open the door for other teams to sort of get into second and third place in the Bundesliga. You know, say for example, we said last week Frankfurt. So Hoffenheim 1, Frankfurt 3. That's the season. Leipzig did win 2-0 against Heidenheim. Stuttgart beat Borussia Mönchengladbach 1-0. Bayern were a bit lucky. So Augsburg 2, Bayern Munich 3. But Bayern Munich were winning 3-0 in the 48th minutes and just seemed to take their eye off the ball. Do you think that's anything to be worried about, or do you just think that's a bit of complacency because the game had already been won?
No, the game was already won. Luis Diaz once again scored. Michael Olise too. I think Michael Olise is one of the most underrated elite players on the footballing planet, on the footballing landscape, because he's just such a joy to watch. I don't think it's a bad thing for them. They were 3-0 up after 50 minutes, so yeah, it's quite normal to. But it's a warning for the next games because they were lucky. It was Augsburg and they have just scored twice, but against a better team or in the Champions League, it can be different.
Yeah. Also, Köln 4, Freiburg 1. Köln have had a good start to the season. Like looking at the top of the Bundesliga, Bayern, Frankfurt, and Köln have 2 wins from 2. And then you got Dortmund, who won 3-0 against Union Berlin on 4, as are St. Pauli and Wolfsburg. So they've all had good starts to the season.
Yeah.
Right, before we go, quick question regarding the transfer windows. Obviously, we're talking about Openda maybe leaving RB Leipzig. Again, worried about RB Leipzig. I heard they were linked to Harvey Elliott at Liverpool to replace Xavi Simons, but it does sound like their forward line has just been completely gutted. What transfers, considering this is transfer deadline day, what transfers are you aware of, or potential transfers in Ligue 1 or say La Liga or Serie A, Bundesliga? Any other transfers you want to quickly chat about? Or just highlights?
We can just have a word on Alexander Isak to Liverpool because of the price of the
I specifically did say the Premier League. I'll take the Premier League.
No, but
also,
if
it's my player.
No, which interests me is Sancho to Aston Villa. I'm just looking at the
it's
news.
absolutely fair point. You're absolutely right. So, like, because just the Emi Martinez deal to Manchester United might be rejuvenated.
Donnarumma to City also. If from what I've seen, Luis Openda and Eden Zegrova from Lille to Juventus. So they really strengthen their attack. Adrien Rabiot will go to Milano for a 4 years contract, as I read yesterday.
4 years, really?
Yeah.
It's 31.
Or even for maybe just 30, but 4 years.
Well, even still, like a 4-year contract for someone entering their 30s, it just seems unusual.
And it will be replaced by O'Reilly from Brighton. at OM. So yeah, Johan Wissa to Newcastle seems to be okay for 55
here's the
million
thing.
pounds. Yeah,
Let's oh yeah, let's just quickly look at Isak then, because here's the thing. Obviously, Newcastle wanted 150 million pounds, and to be fair, 3 years left of his contract. But his strike, his refusal to play, has lost the club, say, 20 million pounds, which seems. I mean, it's still an eye-watering figure because it's, I think, reported 130 in total, but 125 fee. Yeah, I have opinion, and I shan't discuss it. But what is interesting is the effect, the knock-on effect. So obviously, if Isak then goes to Liverpool, Liverpool are more likely to let someone else go, like Harvey Elliott. But also, Newcastle need a second striker. Would they want Strand Larsen from Wolves, who is not that similar to Voltemade, they've just signed, but not dissimilar, a tall, strong presence? Would they want Visser, who is 29 and has also gone on strike?
Yeah, that's typically panic buy, in my opinion. Not Wissa being Wissa, but Wissa being bought for 55 million pounds. I think that's the definition of a panic buy. Of course. Even Strand Larsen. I've heard that Strand Larsen would be 60 million euros too. He is a good
He signed
player.
2 months ago for Wolves for 23 million.
Yeah, he is a good player, of course, okay, but 60 million euros for Strand Larsen.
But this brings us back to the knock-on effect. So if Isak goes, which it does look like he will, then Newcastle have to have another striker. It looks like it will probably be Wissa or Larsen, which therefore means Wolves have to get a striker in, which means somewhere else they're going to lose a striker. Or the same thing with Brentford. Brentford have recently bid for Meyer at Dortmund, I think, who is their second choice striker. So, not a huge loss at Dortmund, but again, they would need to get a striker in from somewhere. And it's all, this is the deadline day. So you do question right now for Brentford. The thing is, Wissa, he's entering his last year of contract, but it's been reported that they have an option for another year. So they do have control of the situation. They have the option of, okay, well, if we can't get a replacement, then he's staying. And similarly, Wolverhampton Wanderers, they don't have time to find a replacement. So at this point, surely it's in more interest of, well, we'd rather keep the player, stay in the Premier League, which is worth twice as much as selling our player. Does that make sense? So therefore, it's basically falling on Newcastle as well as to shop somewhere else. This is not our issue. You've left this too late.
Yeah, they put themselves in a difficult situation by wanting to wait for Isak to be sold. Now they have to buy someone else, and of course the price will be really high with 12 hours left on the transfer market. So yeah, it's difficult, but do they really need to buy someone that price? Can't they just think about maybe a backup?
Loan.
A loan or a backup.
A lot of fans were talking about how they would be interested in a loan for Højlund from Manchester United, because Eddie Howe has this incredible track record of improving players he's worked with. So, and Højlund, was signed for a reason for Manchester United. He had one very impressive season at Atalanta. Well, actually, I think it was an impressive 6 months. It was, at the time, it was an insane amount of money for not much record. But
because if we just take a look at the attacking sector of Newcastle, they got Anthony Gordon.
They've got wingers galore. They've got
Barnes, Elanga, Murphy, Voltemade, Ozula. Even if Joe Linton is a midfielder now, he used to be a striker.
He does operate occasionally. Operates on the left wing. So there used to be this thing where Joe Willock and Joe Linton would basically switch positions, like between midfielder and left winger. So that was really interesting. But essentially, what Newcastle need is just a second choice striker.
Yeah, I think.
You do wonder, okay, surely some emergency loan from somewhere. Just get a body in, as opposed to, like you say, spending so much money on what is essentially a panic buy.
I don't think.
I think it's interesting though, to make a last point before you sign off. But Voltemade was more money. less record, so he's had one good season with Stuttgart. But I think the difference being that he was so impressive at the under-21s, and he's only 23. So when they signed Isak, he was only 23, I think, or 22. So it's quite a similar situation. Like, okay, this is a lot of money, but there is room for improvement, like significant improvement. So if it pays off, it's an excellent investment. And if it doesn't, well, if in 2 years' time, when you sell them, the price has only gone down slightly. It's not going to diminish much because of the age.
Yeah,
Whereas,
but I don't think Isak's case can be repeated for every player. I hope for them they are sure of their investments, because they spent like 85 million euros. I don't know. It's what?
So
79.
it's with add-ons. It's meant to be so it's 69 million pounds, which is about high 70s, low 80s. Yeah, absolutely. But I would say, like, Newcastle did try and sign Automata earlier. I think they were looking at him at the end of last season because Bayern went in for him, looking at him as a long-term replacement for Harry Kane. But Bayern went in, I think it was 3 separate bids, and they stopped at, I think it was 60 million euros, something like that. And so Newcastle, basically, they didn't pursue Automata because they thought, well, it's just a no. And obviously they've offered a bit more money, but a bit more money, an extra like 20% money. But the fact is, like, oh, actually, no, so it wasn't a hard no. It was actually, you've been persuaded. So they actually got a target they originally wanted, but thought they couldn't get because Bayern Munich were ahead of them, which is an incredible thing. First of all, like, considering how many players have turned Newcastle down, or Newcastle have failed to purchase them because of other big teams in the Premier League. It must feel quite nice to knows of Bayern Munich, sort of.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll end it there. It is transfer window day, so it slams shut. I think it's 5 o'clock GMT, so 6 o'clock Central European time. Right?
To the closure of the Mercato. I think it's 7 GMT, 7 p.m. GMT.
7 o'clock. Okay, so and it's 8 o'clock Central European time. Thank you.
Yeah.
So make sure everybody.
Liverpool have received an offer from AC Milan for Joe Gomez. Maybe he will score. He will finally score a goal in AC Milan.
I wanted to score for Liverpool, and then
that's one of that's a terrific start.
Yes, Leo, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for Pedro, who was with us earlier and has since disappeared. Hopefully he's all right. We'll see you all next week, where we can stop talking about transfers, or unless there's like a couple of major ones today we can briefly look at. But then we can just look at football for the coming months. Won't that be a nice thing? Yes, thank you all so much. Make sure you follow us on the socials, etc., etc. And we'll see you all next week. Have a great week, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks, Daniel. Goodbye.